everyone, it's Judy here at Janet's Floral, and today's daily dive is about pruning and deadheading your hanging baskets. And so over the last couple weeks we've talked about the right kind for sun or shade, and then we've talked about watering and fertilizing. So if you've missed those, just go back in our feed and find them, or you can go to our YouTube channel and you can find them there as well. But today's is about, like I said, pruning and trimming. Because if you don't prune them or deadhead them or trim them, then they're more than likely just going to get leggy and stretch, and you'll have a barren center, and they just won't look very nice after a while. So doing a little bit of trimming once a week or once every other week will help to keep those baskets looking fresh and promoting, actually cutting off some blossoms actually helps to promote new blossoms. So it's one of the things that can be really important. So I'm going to show you how to do that on some different kinds of baskets. So if you have, I have a geranium here, but if you have a petunia or even a calibrachoa, we'll look at those here in just a minute. So this is a geranium. The salmon flower here's a geranium, and then we've got lobelia, and there's even verbena hiding out in this basket. You can see the peach, but I'm going to focus mostly on the geranium. So here is a geranium flower that's been dead for a while and should have come off a long time ago, but we're going to, when you take this off, you don't want to take it off here because that leaves a stick, and that stick's just going to die. So you want to take it all the way back to where the stick hits the main stalk of the plant. There's another one here, which obviously has been here a while. So you can see that this whole stem's going to die. So you might as well just take the whole stem off. So that's what you do for deadheading that. Got one more here. I'll take this one off all the way down. And then I think I'm looking for, okay, so here's one over here that's starting to not look so nice. It's still pretty, and I don't want to take the whole thing off. However, my mother would say, take it all off, because there's no more buds down here. So the only place this one has to go is downhill. So we're just going to take it off. And then, so this one here, you can see this flower's dead. But the rest of it, there's lots of buds inside. So we're not going to take the whole thing off. We'll just take this little piece off, and this one here. And there's right in the center, there's some bad ones. So we'll just yank those out. And that'll leave the rest of the flower to look nice for a while. Over here, we have the verbena. And so this verbena flower is almost pretty much done. So I'm going to trim that. I'm not going to take it off here because, again, that leaves the stick. You want to trim it back to here where the joint is with these other two. There's actually teeny tiny buds right here, so we're taking it back to that. Up here is a completely dead one, so again we'll take it all the way back to here. And this one's almost dead, so we'll take that one off too. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what to do with that. The lobelia is a little bit different. I'm not really going to trim that because this is still beautiful. What you could do, if you wanted to, you could trim it just a little bit, and that probably isn't a bad idea because it just promotes growth up the stem. And by me trimming just a couple inches off the ends of these, you would never know it unless I told you. So nobody's going to know, and it'll promote growth again up the stem and help to keep it blooming. Lobelia can tend to fizzle in the heat, so anything that you can do, like just giving it a little haircut to keep it going, is probably a good idea. So that is how to take care of this one. I'm going to show you one more time how to pull the center out. So this red geranium definitely has a bad center, so I'm just going to get my fingers in there. Don't be afraid, and just pull that out, and that'll keep that going for a while. So that's that. Now we're going to switch to a petunia. So this is a really nice petunia. We've actually already deadheaded it, so I'm not going to do that on this one. But I'm going to hold it up, and you can kind of see as I do that, you've got hanging down here, here, here. Even though this looks nice now, I'm still going to trim it right here. And I'm going to trim this one just up a few inches, not very far. And again, you can see I'm cutting it right at the joint, right there. And you might be thinking, well, why is she doing that? She cut all the flowers off. Well, here's another one, sticking way out farther than the rest of the basket. So in order to keep a nice shape with the petunia, it helps to go along and just trim those ones that are sticking out farther than everyone else or hanging down farther than everyone else. And you don't have to do that with every time or with every one, but as you do that, you can kind of see this has a nice tidy look. It's full, it doesn't have a barren center, and it's nice and lush. And that's because we have been doing that with this basket. At one point, it was kind of straggly, looked a little overgrown, and we've been trying to get some shape to it and make these. This one was kind of taking over, so now we've got a good amount of purple and a good amount of this pretty hot pink color. And that's happened mainly because we've been trimming it a little bit, and it just helps to promote growth. So again, when one's hanging down a little too far, like this one, just cut it to, I've got about 4 inches here, cut it to a joint like that. And if you hadn't watched me do that and you came in, you would never know that I cut that off, and that's kind of the point. But if you let it go too far, and I have an example of that, so this would be an example of one. This one's a little wild. It's a little overgrown, and you're gonna know when I'm done with it, because, well, you might not. It's not that bad, but sometimes they get so straggly that the middle is just completely barren, and cutting them back, it just looks ugly. Thankfully, we're not quite to that with this basket, but I am going to have to cut quite a little bit off. This is a bubblegum petunia, this here, and it actually self-sheds, so it's not one that you really have to deadhead a whole lot, which is nice. But we do just to keep the baskets looking good. But you can see that this is way out from the basket. So I'm going to trim that again. And actually on this one, I'm going to do it the whole way around because it really needs it pretty badly. And for me to do the whole basket on the video would actually take too much time. So I'm not going to do that, but I'll trim it just a little bit here, here. I really kind of meant what I said about I'm giving it some shape back. It's kind of gotten wild. By the time I'm done, I'll circle it. Maybe I'll show it to you tomorrow when I'm all done on the next dive. But so then this one also does need to be deadheaded, and you don't have to do that, but we're doing it just to keep the basket looking nice. So when you're deadheading a petunia, the tendency is just to pull the flower out of the little stem. Well, you don't really want to do that. You want to take your clippers back and take it all the way back to the stem, because inside of this is a seed pod, and if you don't take the flower off to the stem, you're just going to end up with a long stem of seed pods, and that doesn't do you any good. It won't get you any flowers. The seed pods die, and then you got to stick with dead pieces all along, and it just doesn't look nice. So again, you don't want to pull that out. You want to take the whole stem just like that. So you've got the dead flower, and then you've got the stick that leads back to the main stalk. So that would be how to deadhead a petunia, and then also trimming. And you might be thinking, well, how often should I do that? Well, what I do here in the store, so here's an example of one over here. I'm not going to cut it because it's not sticking down too far, but actually it looks like somebody just did. If it was all the way down here, I would just trim it. And I often will do that when I'm walking through the greenhouse. If I see something hanging down too far, I'll just kind of yank it off or cut it off. This is a New Guinea impatient, and it doesn't need any trimming, but it does need a little deadheading. And so it actually kind of deadheads itself, but if these lay on there, they just don't look very pretty. So it'll leave a bad spot on the leaf like that. So I'll just go take that leaf off. That's kind of what happened here. The dead flower laid on the leaf and created this brown spot. So if you're getting some of that on your New Guinea impatiens, that's probably what's happening. So you just kind of go through and take those dead flowers off. Well, actually that's a beautiful bud. Let's see if we've got any really bad flowers. Yeah, not really, but here's one that's on its way out. So again, I would go back to the joint and take it off back there. So you're actually taking the whole stem. So that's how you would take care of a New Guinea impatient. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to show you was a calibrachoa, and I forgot to bring one of those. So we're going to go on a little search to find one. So here's a cali basket here. It's kind of small, but it probably won't need much in the way of deadheading. The nice thing about calibrachoas is that they kind of self-shed, so you really don't have to do a lot with them. But here's one here, and if you really wanted it to come off, you could just take the whole stem off. But sometimes I just found if you shake it a little bit, you don't want to be like violent with it, but if you shake it a little bit, you can see there on the floor the little dead ones, and that's that. If you're violent, that's not a good idea. The basket won't appreciate that very much. But that gives you an idea about how to trim, prune, and deadhead. So if you have any questions about any other kind of plant that you need to prune or deadhead, because pruning applies not just to hanging baskets, but it applies to house plants and perennials. Most of them need to be pruned, just like we need to be pruned sometimes to promote new growth in our character. In order to produce new blossoms and new growth in a plant, they have to be trimmed, and that's part of our job as gardeners. And it can be hard sometimes, but it is a really important thing to do for your plants. And actually it can be a little bit therapeutic too. So, because you know that in the end it's going to bring something even more beautiful. So I hope that that's been a help to you. As you can see, we do still have, here's a gorgeous geranium basket behind us with a spider plant that's gone a little wild. All of these are going to produce babies. It's pretty impressive. But there are still lots of baskets here. And again, our hours this week are from 9 to 6 every day. And we hope to see you out. If you have any questions, just let us know. Thanks so much. Have a good evening. Bye.